Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Khalid and today we are continuing the fundamentals of computer. So while this topic seems to be basic, but this is the foundation of your IT knowledge. Whether you're new to the field of IT or you've already been in the field of IT and would like to refresh your memories, then this video is for you. In this video, we are talking about generations of computer, how they started, how they evolved, and the technology behind each generation. So before it's late, let's start our lesson. Okay guys, so we are talking about generation of the computers. When we talk about generation of the computers, then it means we are talking about how the computer was created. What was the purpose of the computers in each generations? What were the size of the computers in each generations and which technology were being used in each generations? But before talking about generation of the computers, we are talking about four basic principles of the computers. So when we talk about the computers, there are always four things to be remembered. The first one is input, the second one is processing, the third one is output, and the fourth one is storage. So when we talk about the input, with the help of input, we gave the data to the computer or we gave the instructions to the computer by using a keyboard, a digital pen, a mic, or a mouse, or whatever else. When we talk about processing, then the computer has got the CPU, the GPU, so that the computer can process all those given data to us. Then when you talk about output, then of course, once we give the data to the computer, the data is processed, then we will need to see those information. We would like to see the actions taken by the processor, how we can see those actions with the help of output. We can use a printer, we can use a monitor, we can use, of course, a speaker. There are different types of output devices that we can use to output our data. And then, of course, last but not the least, storage. So we use the storage for the purpose of storing all those information and data in our computer, like an external drive, a memory card, or nowadays, of course, cloud storages. For example, an iPhone has got their cloud storage, Google has got cloud storage, Microsoft, and many other cloud storages that can save our data on the cloud. So this was about the four basic principles of computer. Okay, so a story of computer. In 1822, an Englishman called Charles Babbage invented the computer. So the purpose of the computer was to automate long and complex mathematical calculation, which was being used in navigation and astronomy. So the human tables, because the human created tables were with errors. So that was the purpose of creating the first mathematical computer. Then in 1833, Babbage introduced the analytical engine, which is considered the first true computer concept, which means it had the input, it had the processing, and it had the output. So it had all the concepts that we are using today. So this computer was not completed on those days, but the concept is being used until now. We can simply say that it was a programmable computer with a memory, with a CPU, and input and output. So this was the history of the computer. Now we are talking about generation of computers. So when we talk about generation of the computer, so the first generation of computer started from 1940 until 1956. In the first generation of computers, the technology being used were vacuum tubes, or we can say the small light bulbs being used as a technology. The memory was magnetic drum, the input and output was punch card and paper tape. So they were very large machines, produced a lot of heat, slow and unreliable. They were using the machine language, which is 0 and 1, or we call it binary. So there were no other language. they were using the machine language, which was 0 and 1, and you had to learn those languages, and you had to type each character with codes which were 0 and 1 and were very, very difficult. And then, for example, we have got ENIAC, ITSAC, UNIVAC. So those computers were being used for scientific calculations, military applications, census, and data processing. So those were the first generation of computers, very large computers, and of course, very, very old computers, we can say. And let's talk about generation of computers, second generation of computers. So when we talk about second generation of computer, it starts in 1956 until 1963. So the second generation of computers were using the transistors technology, magnetic core memory for input and output. They were using punch cards still, and also magnetic tape. So the second generation of computers were a little bit smaller, more energy efficient, faster processing, and more reliable than the first generations. They were using the assembly language and Fortran, COBOL assembly language for COBOL and Fortran. So they were not using the binary language. The example of those computers were IBM 1401, IBM 7090. So those computers were being used for business application, banking, engineering calculations. Yeah, so those were the second generation of computers, and now we are talking about third generation of computers. When we talk about third generation of computers, they started in 1964 until 1971. So the technology changed to ICs or integrated circuits. One IC was, we could say, one IC is equal to many transistors in a single chip. The memory was semiconductor memory. Input and output was the keyboard and mouse on the third generation of computers. So much smaller and faster, more reliable, multi-programming operating system were introduced on this generation. The example is IBM System 360, Honeywell 6003. So these computers were being used for commercial purposes, data processing, scientific researches, and large organizations. The fourth generation of computers are from 1971 until now. So in this generation of computers, we are using microprocessors, so entire CPU on a single chip. Key event were Intel 4004, the microprocessor which was introduced in 1971. They are very small and extremely fast, affordable, and personal use. Graphical user interface that we can see, easily use the computers. Networking, we have got the networking of those computers with sharing of data with each other. Internet evolution, now we have got in the fourth generation the internet. Okay, the examples are personal computers, laptops, servers, smartphones. Those computers are being used for business applications, home purposes, entertainment, and of course, cloud computing. Okay, so the fifth generation of computers have already started, and it will be continued to the future because we are already witnessing the AI, artificial intelligence, the robots, the machine learning, quantum computing, and of course natural language processing. So the fifth generation of computers have got the ability to learn and make the decisions themselves. They've got the parallel processing, extremely high performance. They have got the human computer interaction, voice gestures, AI assistants. The examples are AI systems, quantum computers, autonomous robots, advanced supercomputers. They are used for automation, data analysis, self-driving cars, medical diagnosis, cybersecurity, and many other things that we are already witnessing. So this is the fifth generation, and it's continued. Thank you so much for being until end of this session, and I hope you have enjoyed this video. Do not forget to subscribe my channel for future videos, and see you in the next session.